The NFL rights deals are on the table again, and the NFL is seeking a record number for their yearly rights, which is insane. With the downward tilt that the NFL is experiencing as far as ratings goes, and with the media entities themselves actually working to divide and separate their audience from their products, which, again, insane, I have to ask, why would the NFL expect more money for the product that they're delivering? Also, why would the networks pay more? The ratings have been down considerably over several years. Now, these I think are very important questions because to me, it makes sense, as usual. So let's take a look at what's going on here, shall we?
Ladies and gentlemen, hiss and foes, welcome to the Culture Casino!
Since early 2020, people have been trapped in their homes looking for sources of entertainment. Well, you and I are included in that. Despite some very poor judgment by the streaming service Netflix, their membership grew. And it grew at an amazing clip. In fact, new streaming services that launched this year built their own subscriber bases, with the exception of the, doomed Quibi, which from its inception was a bad idea. But for the most part, all of them are still growing today, including Peacock, which is as oddly named as it is. And I believe once Paramount Plus rebrands itself from CBS All Access, it might experience some moderate growth as well. Now, because of all of the folks that, as I mentioned, have been trapped at home, sports would have seemed like a shoo-in for the most watched form of entertainment, right? No. The major sports leagues here in the United States, for that matter, have had a very bad year. A dismal year, even. This in spite of the fact that Nielsen actually did them a favor, and that favor should have created record viewership. In fact, if you've been a subscriber on this channel long enough, you know that I've already covered the fact that Nielsen has added OOH viewing to their results for the first time. OOH means out-of-home viewing when it comes to sports. So that's something new, at least it was for 2020. Be that as it may, sports consumption dropped across the board, with some of the greatest plummets being served up by the NBA. Of course. Wow. The NFL, however, only dropped between 7 and 12% in a year-over-year average. That's a very complicated thing to say, right? Most of that, of course, is a mathematical word problem and a way of saying that please don't look at the game-to-game differences too closely. Also, don't pay attention to the fact that the numbers are artificially bolstered by the change that was made in the calculation algorithm. The OOH folks. Just don't even pay attention to that. Could possibly have added another 5% viewership. Who's to say? Accounting for that change, of course, the NFL would look even weaker if we were comparing apples to apples. And in the ratings department, they were substantially weaker. So at the time of this recording, as I will say more than once during this recording, the NFL rights deals are being negotiated. In fact, they've been, I guess, started the negotiations back in December. So here is a chart of how 2020 broke down in terms of cost to all of these networks. And as you can see, for ESPN and Disney, they pay $1.9 billion for 17 games for Monday Night Football. Wow, that's insane, considering the other networks pay substantially less for far more games. So anyway, as you can see, the NFL is a giant price tag. And now as you see with these overall numbers, the NFL wants nearly double these numbers. Well, they would like nearly double these numbers. They want a package negotiated worth $100 billion over the next 8 to 10 years. $100 billion. Now, I say 8 to 10, and a lot of the news organizations out there are looking at that number 10. The NFL is really looking towards that number 8 when they're negotiating these numbers, which means it would be an even higher percentage of growth in what they charge, which is nuts. Consider this, though. Fox is looking to dump the Thursday night games. So they won't be a streaming partner with the people who also carry those games, the streaming services like Amazon and Yahoo Sports. Amazon, of course, wants to eagerly pick up the slack there, but I'm not sure who they'll get for a broadcast partner, because they'll need one. Maybe the NFL Network will do it. Don't know. AT&T is looking to stop offering DirecTV's Prime Ticket package, because that contract will end in 2022, which means that's another loss in, I don't know, millions of subscribers, several million. Finally, Disney is trying to get into the Super Bowl rotation, and they're willing to pay for that game outright. They want to get into that cycle like twice in the next 10 years. Don't know how that's going to work out. Since all of the other players that are involved in this, CBS, Fox, and all that, kind of want to stick with what they've got, with the NFC being on the Fox platform and the AFC being with CBS, I don't think a lot of other things would change. Obviously, the Monday night game could, who knows, but the Thursday night games definitely will. And here's the issue that I have with any and all of these things when it comes to asking for more money. You have 10 to 12% less audience, many of which will not return to watch because there are people who just quit watching football this year. The NFL wants 50% more money at least for the same number of games. Keep in mind, the Super Bowl has been declining in about 5 of the last 6 years, so that's substantial. Interestingly enough, even some investors had questions for both Viacom, CBS, and Disney when it came to the NFL rights fees at the recent quarterly calls that they each had. Seems like some of the people are paying attention as the subscriber base for ESPN is dwindling, and CBS didn't gain any ground with football this year at all. In fact, like I said, everybody lost ground. So let me drive this home even more. The Disney CEO, Bob Chapek, actually stated in the conference call that I just referenced, our first priority will be to look and say, does it make sense for shareholder value going forward? Wow. Now, that's either an excellent negotiation strategy, or he really is considering not picking up the giant cost of those Monday night games, because that's nuts. And it really does cost the networks a ton of money, so much so that in order to maintain the deals that they have, they're operating on incredibly slim margins. I mean, their operational margins are tiny. They have to employ just a huge number of folks to make these things go, and they have these stars attached to them, or supposed stars and experts, that give you all the commentary and so on and so forth, play, all of that. I don't know. It's just nuts. The networks are also pushing more people, and they're pushing even harder, I should say, on their direct-to-consumer models that they feel is pretty much their only future, which in a lot of ways it kind of is. But broadcast viewership has slipped, of course, as the streaming services have risen. But the real revenue is realized in the broadcast side through advertisement support, or on some of these streaming hybrid platforms like Hulu or Peacock and stuff like that. If I were looking at this deal right now, I would not be kowtowing to the NFL if I had any decision-making power in one of these entities at all. On the heels of what I would consider very marginal performance over the course of the last few years, management of this league has allowed things to creep in, divisive rhetoric and other things that drives fans away. Well, of course, the networks are doing the same thing, but hey, they're actually buying this product from somebody else. So the NFL is actually only getting aggressive here because they want to push the salary cap up, despite the poor earnings that they had last year and what they'll probably have next year too. But maybe that's the point. See, they want to push player and ownership earnings up. They want to increase the salary cap. They want to increase the number that the owners get to put in their pockets. And if the interest in the league falls, they want to try to change the story. They don't want to fall in the same hole that the NBA is in right now, because the NBA, while they may not experience contraction, they may actually have to lower their salary cap pretty substantially. that's going to hurt player salaries. And it's going to lead to some of those stars being a little whiny when it comes to their next contract. Now, this, of course, if the NFL is able to pull this off, is going to leave the networks and their parent companies holding the bag with this increased price. And that's, of course, as their viewership continues to fall off in favor of streaming. And maybe the only saving grace for those networks is going to be that those parent companies will be able to hide those losses of the ever poorer performance, which I'm predicting, amidst their streaming subscriber numbers and earnings. Right? I mean, that's kind of what Disney's doing already. So suffice it to say, I think negotiating near the status quo would probably be the best plans. Again, it would be the best plan for everybody as far as I'm concerned, especially if I were a decision maker, because an all-around short-term deal to see if the NFL can prove itself again would actually help the NFL. Because if they did prove themselves again, they'd be even more valuable. And it would help the networks as well, so they could try to sort out their own troubles when it comes to the margins that they're operating on for the carriage deals for these sports. And again, at the time of this recording, nothing has been announced yet. Lots of things have been talked about. Most of the things that we've just, shared. But I expect it to be done pretty soon, or perhaps even before this video airs, which, of course, if it does, I will update. But rest assured, when it does happen, I'll cover it as well. In closing, I just want to say, be sure to go out there and support other independent creators. They definitely need your support, and they don't have an industry to support them. They would appreciate a like, a subscription, and of course, any comment that you'd like to make on their videos. So would I. Comments seem to be a big deal, so if you have thoughts on this particular subject when it comes to the NFL rights deals or anything related to that, feel free to leave them down below and we'll have a discussion. Be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye.
Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.